Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery podcast are proud to bring you Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast. Join your hosts, Mike the Podfather and Jersey Ed, as they address the real issues in health and wellness for first responders. From physical and mental health to relationships and work-life balance, we leave no stone unturned. Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery answering the calls.
Hey everybody, Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. I am the Podfather Mike Miles, and I'm here with Jersey Ed.
Hey everybody, Jersey Ed here. Hi guys.
Here he is.
We have a special guest today. We have Anne Perriello of the Lieutenant Anne Perriello, yes, of the Pelham, New Hampshire Police Department. We're going to bring her on in a minute, but I just want to say, give everybody a little heads up how they can get a hold of us. You can give us a call, Podfather. We've been getting some great messages and some great emails I've been forwarding over to you. So if you want to keep sending the Podfather emails, you can send them to help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. That's help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. And I'll make sure Podfather gets them. Or you can give us a call at 617-379-1163, 671-379-1163. And the significance of that 163 is what, Podfather?
The significance?
Yes.
Well, it used to be my badge number, 163. I wore that badge number for 35 years. Yep.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And also, Podfather, I'd like to thank FirstNet, built by AT&T, for sponsoring our show. They're wonderful, wonderful people, and they believe in what we do here, the health and wellness for the first responders.
And if you really want to read some interesting stuff, hear some interesting stuff, stick with us, and I'll Google that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's really, I don't know, it's kind of ahead of its time, I guess.
Yep. And the commercial will tell you everything. So the commercial will be on, and you'll have to hear that. So Podfather, Anne Perriello, Lieutenant Anne Perriello, and Anne has been working for the Pelham, New Hampshire Police Department for the past 19 and a half years. She is currently a lieutenant in charge of administration operations, and has her bachelor's and master's in criminal justice from UMass Lowell, and is currently working on her master's in social work from Salem State, and anticipates to graduate in May of 2021. She's currently working for some guy, Podfather Mike Miles, I think. I don't know. We'll have to talk about that, and I'll have to talk some sense into this girl's heads. But she's also working for Jeff Zazel, and for this academic year, she's really getting the knowledge from all you guys. So,
who are the best?
Yes, absolutely. Anne resides in the lovely state of New Hampshire, and she also loves golfing and boating on Lake
Winnipesaukee.
There you go.
Yeah. Throw it out there. Don't be afraid.
Lake Winnipesaukee. And welcome to the show. Welcome to First Responders Show, Answering the Call.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Absolutely. So quite a bio here, and I was also told you do a lot more than just what's on here. This is a quick bio that I asked you to write up, and you know, I think also your master's in social work. It's in Salem State where you went to, Podfather. Also, is that where you got yours?
Yep, my diploma from Salem State College, which is now Salem State University.
Yep.
On the wall, 2002. Yeah, Anne's she's going to Salem State for a master's. You know, there's a lot of colleges that offer master's programs in social work, and the women I work with, some Boston College, some Boston University, Salem State. I mean, they're all great schools. I mean, the program itself is a very difficult program. When I say difficult, what it requires is 2 8-month internships of at least 20 hours a week for 8 months, which, when you think about it, it's life altering for a lot of people. For me,
let's have Anne tell us about it.
Yeah.
It's very demanding. The School of Social Work at Salem State is no joke. I already have a master's from UMass Lowell in criminal justice, and I worked hard. And granted, that was almost 20 years ago at this point. this is no joke. You put a lot of effort into it, but you need to know what you're doing before you walk out the door. And they're definitely, as demanding as they are, they're preparing us for the next step. And that's obviously, well, at least not obvious, because not everyone wants to get licensed, but I'd like to be licensed at some point, become a clinician, and move forward and work with first responders and veterans, and specifically like PTSD. I definitely want to do some public speaking with stress and policing, and get the word out that anyone can move forward. But I also want to keep people healthy from day one. So I'm not intending to leave policing at any point. Sorry.
It's okay. There's the dog.
What's the dog's name?
Raven.
Oh,
Raven.
He doesn't like when people walk past the house.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
She's wide awake now.
Good dog.
So I just lost track of what I was saying to you.
You were talking about you want to leave there with a lot of knowledge, not just about policing, but about helping people and having knowledge.
With the program. But I don't anticipate leaving policing yet. I feel like there's a lot of work to do, and I want to continue moving forward in my career, but I also want to continue moving police and first responders forward with like wellness programs and staying healthy and implementing things from day one with an officer or first responder's life, not necessarily like I'll be there to step in the 10-year mark or the 12-year mark,
Right.
or even at retirement. But I think training the minds and the body emotionally from the start has been lacking. And we are transitioning to that in society, and reaching out and going at things differently, even politically. But there is a big fight ahead of us to break some stigma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And I really believe what you're doing now, and I did it in my 40s, late 40s, I still had a few years to go. I went another 19 years as a police officer, but in your case, you're at a rank of a lieutenant, which in and of itself is a lot of study and a lot of hard work. And I think it's important for, like Eddie earlier, I had said lieutenant, only because when police officers or firemen or anybody, that's in a public servant where there is like a paramilitary structure, and when you find out someone's a sergeant or lieutenant or a captain, you know that they had to put a little extra work into getting there, because it's a lot of studying.
And
Right.
Anne, you have a master's in criminal justice and a bachelor's in criminal justice, and you're working on your master's in social work. You're also a lieutenant. Why are you doing this? What's the purpose behind all this? This is next level stuff. This is like, kind of a Mike Miles, a Podfather type thing. And also you have two great mentors. I know I kid around with Jeff and Mike being, but you have really two good mentors. Are you looking to go in kind of that kind of direction for them? I mean, I know you said you were, but what's the overall plan for it?
Overall plan. So I'll back up a little bit. Motivation is when living this job, and I was a workaholic for so many years, I just put too many hours in, and my own well-being was getting pushed aside. Eventually, things were like building up. There were a lot of high stress, high risk calls. And then on Halloween night of 2009, I responded to the death of a child who was trick-or-treating. Moving forward from that, I took some time off. It bothered every single one of us that responded. I was a supervisor on scene, went to the hospital, was there for hours with the family. It didn't hit me for 3 years. All of a sudden, January of 12, I was ready to quit my job. I didn't want to put my uniform on. I wasn't sleeping. I'm like, what is going on? And I am like internally competitive with myself to not get beat with things. So I grew up in the world of athletics, and I brought that into policing. The world of athletics, you keep practicing to play better. So I'm like, what have I stopped doing to keep myself well? And like, why am I not sleeping well right now? Why is the death of a child from 3 years ago sneaking up on me? So I knew at that point I needed to just go talk to someone professionally and just get some help and guidance. I did a little bit of work, but probably not until 2018 did I do the work that I really needed to. And the only reason I really did that work at that point is I was out with a knee surgery the fall of October of 17 mimicked the same weather from '09, and it brought everything back. So when I went out on the knee surgery, I had the surgery, and then within a week and a half, I retore my knee. So it kept me out of work for like 2.5 months. So during that time, I'm like, you know what? It's time to like work this completely out of my system. And I did that. And I feel like I am like completely reset. I do public speaking right now. Like I spoke, Jeff Zeisel brought me down to the Narcotics Association, their regional conference, and I spoke about stress and policing there. I've spoken at some police academies. It is, you can reset yourself as long as, you know, some of it is awareness. Some of it is knowing what may or may not happen. And that's where the transition in life is at this point with policing. I'm on the stress incident management team for Southern New Hampshire, where we run any debriefings, and we're just resources, and where we are protected. If we are there as a member of the SISM team, we are actually protected by a New Hampshire statute with confidentiality. So officers can actually come and talk to us. So moving forward, what my goal is to be a resource for first responders, a resource for our fire department. Whenever I do a bulletin on wellness for our agency, I change the headline and the picture, and I gear it towards the fire department, and I send it over to the Pelham Fire Department.
Nice.
It's just, you know, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to keep the wheel moving forward and getting it out there that the stigma, it needs to break. Southern New Hampshire's gotten hit hard with a captain and a retired lieutenant captain from Nashville, a retired lieutenant from Salem, New Hampshire, who was a lieutenant in Merrimack College with police-related suicide. This is a national problem. It's huge. I looked up some stats before I came on the show, and you compare 2020 in the line of duty deaths, we're at 269. 157 of those are due to COVID. 2019 line of duty deaths, we were at 148. Now compare that to what Blue Help has for suicides that are documented, because not all of them are documented, because a lot of departments don't want that stigma attached. In 2020, you had 155. In 2019, you had 236. Those numbers, like, those are both higher than the line of duty deaths.
Wow.
So, you know what? It's time to change the culture.
And real quick, I want to jump back to something that you said. You said and this is a while ago, you know, at the beginning, you said you can reset yourself. Talk about that, because that's important, especially for the new police. And Podfather, you reset yourself all those years ago when you were a young cop. You got sober, you got clean, you took a different route. So how did you reset yourself? Number one. And what did it do for you? And Podfather, I want to ask you the same question also after Anne's done.
Yeah. Resetting took a lot of work. It's not like you just say, hey, I'm going to forget this and move forward. I needed to reset with, how do I put this incident into a compartment and leave it there? And don't let it haunt me anymore, and let me get some solid sleep. So it started with learning about mindfulness, how effective it is. Knowing that when your stress or your anxiety is going up, that you can bring yourself back down with breathing exercises. You can bring yourself down with taking a walk and being mindful, and just as simple as counting the amount of animals you see on your walk, or the amount of birds, the amount of different noises, something that's like in the moment. So it's restructuring the brain, where you're bringing yourself from being stuck in that stress and that adrenaline, or whatever it happens to be, that incident, and slowing yourself down to say, no, what's important right now? What's in front of me right now? And with that, I do a lot of exercises, and I don't write it down anymore, but I had to form a habit, where I'd write down 2 things I'm grateful for in the morning, and then at night, 2 things I'm grateful for at night. And for quite a while, they were the same things every day. And then eventually you start to like open your horizon and realize what's in front of you. Also, just talking to someone, getting some professional help with, hey, this is normal. It's normal to have an abnormal day in policing. So how do you bring that back? But then plus you need to just be aware of your triggers. And if you do have a trigger, how do you minimize that and mitigate whatever's taking place? I'm open. I talk to my officers about the effects that it had on me. And now, we don't force debriefings, but we always have debriefings and we open them up. And if someone doesn't want to do a debriefing, we at least get educational knowledge out to them that, hey, this stuff might happen, just so you're aware.
And real quick, we're going to take a quick break here. But when we get back, Podfather, I'm going to ask you the same question also that I just asked Anne. But Anne, I want you to follow up with what all this, we talked about mindfulness, being grateful, breathing, basically being where your feet are. I want to know how that is affecting your life today and how much better it is. So Podfather, you want to do the pleasures of taking us out?
Yeah, answering the call, the First Responders podcast. We'll be right back.
You're first. First to respond. First to put others' lives before your own. And in an emergency, you need a network that puts you first, that connects you to technology, to each other, and to other agencies. Built with and for first responders. FirstNet, the only congressionally authorized wireless network for first responders. Because putting you first is our job.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey everybody, answering the call, the First Responders podcast. I am the Podfather Mike Miles, and I'm back
with Jersey Ed here. Jersey Ed. I never know when to jump in. We have to get this down. We have to practice one day. Hey, Podfather, Jersey Ed. Yeah, we'll practice. Hey, real quick here. I just want to talk about Copline.org. Guys, it's a great resource for all the police. A dear friend of mine here in Jersey, she put it all together. Copline.org, or you can call 1-800-COPLINE. That's 1-800-267-5463. That's 1-800-267-5463. That is a crisis line. If you have a problem, if you have an issue, if there's anything you want to talk about, please give them a call. Over 100 volunteers, all police officers, ready 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help you out in anything that you need. So also, our guest today is Anne Perriello. Thank you, Anne, for coming on the show. And before the break, we were talking about mindfulness, being grateful, resetting yourself. And I'm going to ask the Podfather the same question after I get your answer for the last question that we were talking about. Where did this take you by doing this, by being where your feet are, by being grateful, by breathing, by mindfulness, by resetting yourself from that tragic day that you had and it built up into where you were? What did it do for you? So let some of these new cops out there, some of these older cops might be battling this from years and years ago.
Where it took me is to a whole new life. I feel like I completely have weights off my shoulders that I didn't even realize. I had gained between 30 and 40 pounds over that 10-year block. Wow. I'm down 25 right now. Fitness became a way of life. I find mentally, we know that it produces, I'll just call it some good oil in us to keep us healthy, as layman terms go. And fitness, it's become a way of life. If I don't work out, at least a few times a week, I feel like I'm not doing what I should do. So it has taken me from an unhealthy mindset to a healthy mindset. It has allowed me to appreciate what is around me, and it's allowed me to be more present with my family, with my coworkers. I'm better at my job. I've always been a workaholic, but now I'm a clear-minded workaholic, I guess you call it. So,
You're
um,
more mindful. You're more mindful about it. So
I
good.
guess, you know what? I can't even call myself a workaholic anymore because I appreciate my weekends. I appreciate my time off. I use my earned time correctly now and do things that I enjoy. I'm much more present in the moment and just in life. So I feel like I have a new start, a fresh start.
Good, good. And that's the important part, is that we're present, we're in the moment. And that's what all this mindfulness does, is it brings us right to the moment. Podfather, I know I'm going to ask you the same question as Anne. And I know you have a little bit of different answer because I know your story, but I want to let the cops know and the first responders know that there is help for somebody who went your route also. How did you reset yourself and, and help some of these younger cops out there, how you did this and the track that you went back on, you got on to?
I think it's important, for police, fire, correctional officers, EMS, veterans, everybody that's been involved with any type of situation with this PTSD. Ian talked about a child dying on Halloween night. Similar situation with me. I had a young couple commit suicide, 16, 15. Young lovers, parents didn't agree. The carbon monoxide hose back window of their Maverick they were driving, and suicide note, and just a handsome, young, beautiful girl, handsome boy. It just stuck with me. I can still smell the fragrance of the car, everything. It's just never gone away. And that was in 1981, I believe. But for me, I was a very healthy guy. I used to run, I worked out, I played racquetball, I did it all. But I turned to substances, alcohol, drugs. And, I like to listen to what Ian said about mindfulness and gaining everything back. For me in 1986, I had I went and got some help. And luckily, and it took, and I was able at a time when police and fire, especially police officers, you never heard of a cop having a drug problem because they either hid it, or if they found out about it, they got fired. So in my position, where I was, abusing alcohol and drugs, cocaine was the drug of choice. I was fortunate that I fought hard. Nobody threw me any bones or any life preservers, but I did go in front of a board of inquiry, and I was honest with them. And I had a chief that wanted to dismiss me, and I was lucky that I had a hearing officer that understood addiction. And I hit the ground running. I went to tons of meetings, and I got back into my own life. I also put on weight as a result of that. I lost that weight. I got married. I had a son, Christopher, and then I had another daughter, another child, Cara, and I had already had my daughter, Michelle. So I was instant. For me, it was just instant gratification to have myself back at a young age, 32. And it made me a better cop being sober and have an understanding of life. It certainly brought me into this profession, and I was helping people long before I had any credentials. I got my bachelor's from criminal justice in the early 90s, but I was helping cops from 1988, 1986 on. And national TV, newspaper articles. Many times I was asked to come on TV, and Tom Bergeron had a show in Boston. I was on his show because I was talking about a subject that nobody had talked about, a cop with a problem. So, as a result, go back to school, get my degree, master social work, licenses to help people. And here I am, an old codger, 67 years old, 6 years old. And I honestly feel like Ian's a great example of someone I have an opportunity to, she comes to do an internship with me. Obviously, she's very bright, very intelligent. I could get I've had many interns, and believe me, I've had a couple that just really stick out, and she'll be right there with the top three. There was another cop here in Chelmsford that was involved in a shooting. She come to see me, and the next thing you know, she's getting her PhD. This career is attractive to people that have been down the road we've been down. And if you sit in my office and see what I have in here, all police memorabilia, some people might feel uncomfortable in here. You know what? I could care less. I'm entertaining the people that are comfortable, that come in and look at all cop memorabilia and stuff, because you know what? It's who we are. So that's my answer, Eddie.
Thank you, Podfather. Thank you. And Anne, so two police officers here, two completely different scenarios, but two almost, I don't want to say exact results, but really good results. Anne, a quick question for you, or a question for you, not quick, but where is Anne going? What does your future look like? What's your future? Is it, what's your dream for first responders and your career? Talk a little bit about that, because you're inspiring some of these police officers. Number one, because you and the Podfather had some troubles, and now you guys are right on in the right track. It didn't happen overnight, guys, from what everybody's saying, but from the stories that you guys are telling us. But where are you going in the future? Why are you doing this? And it's a lot of work, but what's your dream for first responders also?
Yeah. Overall, I'm not planning on leaving policing yet. I feel like I have another 10 plus years in me, and technically I can retire in 6 months. I'll be vested fully for a pension. I won't have the age. I'm only 43. I have to be 45 to collect, but I don't feel like it's time to leave policing yet. Even though society is going a whole different direction with policing, I think the social work aspect actually is going to complement the direction that we're going. So as far as my role, I definitely want to work on wellness programs more. I'd like to start teaching in the police academy and teach about like breaking the stigma and the mental toughness that needs to go along with your tactical toughness, and make sure that people are ready for what may happen to them, just through, like we talk about imagery work when you're responding, and you're supposed to go over scenarios after scenarios in your head when you're responding to certain types of calls, and you're prepping your mind so it's not as stressful when you show up there. If you prep people that some calls are going to be difficult, and this is what may happen, then you hope in the future they're not as affected. That doesn't mean every call is not going to affect you just because you're educated. We're human beings, and that is the social work aspect that I also want to come in, that you're a person first and you need to take care of yourself. But coupled with that is just talking about isolation and talking about being with your family. And my main goal as a lieutenant in Pelham is officer wellness, and that officer wellness encompasses multiple things. It encompasses physical fitness, which we are very lucky to have a physical fitness incentive in the union's contract and it works because they get $800 if they pass a PT test each year, and it's keeping people healthier. So, and then from there, it becomes a little competitive with the guys. So if someone's working out, that usually motivates someone else to work out. So physical fitness is one portion of my goal. But after that, it is other things like I've brought in financial advising for the guys, and we have invited their families in to sit in that as well, because I think it's important for people to know that we want you to be healthy outside of work, so you're healthier to walk through the doors. And that is my ultimate main goal. I'm going to work with first responders, whether it's one-on-one or just public speak on stress and policing, and talking about resetting and what it takes, and that you're not alone. And also, I would like to get in and start working with veterans. And that's my ultimate goal, is when I do leave policing, is to continue working with first responders and veterans, specifically with veterans transitioning into civilian life again, and help them out and get them back on their feet.
That's so important, working with the vets. The vets have very, yeah, I mean, she's 43, Podfather. I don't think the life that she's going to lead from 43 on is more than I accomplished in the whole 55 years I've been alive, I think. So amazing. And
it's a lightning rod. I mean, you can tell she captivates us. When we've both been down the road, we've seen a lot. We've had a lot of guests on and stuff, but she's definitely a lightning rod. Yeah. And the good news is, I mean, this is the future, and it's going forward. The present right now, but this is the future. And just think of all the younger cops coming on, Pelham or whatever police department, she goes forward. And, if you had 10 more Anns, in policing or any EMS job, you'd have a very healthy minded, probably physically too, departments. And this is what we need, because it's more important, I think, for anyone out there. Those suicide statistics are so disturbing to me. I've known 3 police officers that have committed suicide, and it's got to stop. It really does.
Those statistics, I'll make sure that the Blue Helps website is put into our show notes so you guys can see what Anne's talking about. And one thing you did say about this, and we're going to close here in a minute, but you said this job affects you. We're all humans. That is so true. The Podfather and I talk all the time on this show about it's okay not to be okay as long as you get some help. You guys help people. You guys are always there for us, and you have to be there even if they're talking stuff about you, even they're talking, whatever it is. You guys have to be okay. You have to take care of us, but you guys also have to reach out for help. And the other thing I want to mention, Podfather, is that FirstNet, built by AT&T, and this is right in their wheelhouse. This is what they're doing. They're helping first responders. They're helping first responders with officer wellness, with wellness. That's what they're pushing here. And this is just an amazing thing that we have this big company, FirstNet, built by AT&T, wanting to get into helping police officers or first responders. And it's amazing that you brought it up that one person is seeing this vision that this whole company's seeing, and you probably didn't even know about it. So, Anne, thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you for your service out there. Thank you for all the hard work you put in, all the patience you had for the public, for the civilians just like me, and you too, Podfather. Thank you guys so much for everything you guys do for us. And just keep being you, and we appreciate everything.
Yeah, thank you. Honored.
Great having you on the show, Anne.
Yeah,
do this.
Yep, and thanks. And Podfather, what a great guest. I know she's been on our show before. Anne's been with us before, but it's more and more that we get to pull out of the guests. More and more we get to understand them, and more a little personal stuff from Anne now, and a little insight of what she's about. She's a human being. She had some struggles. She was able to get through it with some easy steps: diet, exercise, therapy.
Basic.
Working on it. It's just like you. So it's just amazing. So it's out there.
You have to have the right frame of mind to even get involved in that. And that's the thing. If you're anxious or depressed, you're just not feeling right, it's hard to put your body in motion, That's why mind, body, soul, they have to all be in sync. And she talked about motivational speaking. I can see her being a motivational speaker, because she just flows so genuinely, and everything she's saying it makes a ton of sense. And she speaks in a cadence and a language that people understand, especially people that are in EMS work,
Yeah, and first responders work, absolutely. So, Podfather, another great guest. I know she was on the show in the past, but she has 2 great mentors, you and Jeff Zazel. What more can you ask for? 2 really pioneers in this field, in the policing field. And, she's going to carry that torch on. She's definitely a lot younger than you and Jeff by a couple of years.
Many years. Yeah, it's good though. It really is. I mean, to do the work I've done in the past, and I feel very, very privileged knowing someone like someone with her ability, her understanding, the fact she's a lieutenant. I can't stress enough how important that is to people in this line of work that work for a paramilitary organization. To hear that, I know it's impressive, because we know how much work that takes.
Absolutely.
And in the book that will be published, hopefully by the middle of next year, Miles of Hope, we're going to talk about the pioneering of all this, and
absolutely
with it. And who better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And look for the upcoming show. We're going to do on our other channel on FIR and Friends in Recovery. We're going to do a kind of or maybe even on this channel, we're going to do a show on your book, talking about your book. So, Podfather, great show. Thank you for the wonderful wonderful guest, and Anne Perriello. You know, we appreciate everything you do for us, and we're going to get her back on this show 100%. Any closing words before we head out, Podfather?
Oh, it was a great show, and I just hope everybody, enjoys life the way it should be enjoyed, one day at a time. And if you're stressed, if you're anxious, if you're having thoughts of hurting yourself, or if you're just having bad thoughts and you need some help, why don't you just throw that number out one more time, Ed? Our
Sure.
number and the number for the
So the number for what Podfather was just talking about is copline.org. That's 1-800-COPLINE. It's 1-800-267-5463. That's the crisis line you want to call. If you want to call and talk to us and say hello, is 617-379-1163. That's 617-379-1163. We also can get you some help. We can kind of guide you through, but a crisis goes to 1-800-COPLINE. Give them a call. So.
Right. Very good. Hey, great show again. Can't thank her enough.
Yeah.
So, answering the call, the First Responders podcast, and I am the Podfather, and
Stay safe, everybody.
you go.